What up, what up, what up? Happy Sunday morning. What's up, my friends? Let's jam. Let's do it. What up? Hi, Gita. Hi, Alicia. Dawn, what's up? Choco bleu. What's going on? What's up, Riscatal? Hey, I see what you did there. Smart. What's up, Jen? Hi, Angela. Hi, Callie. Hi, what's up? Hi from Italy. Hi, Jay. Hi, I love serene life. Hi, Jeanette. Hi, Astrid. Loves embellishing. Good storyteller, I bet. What's up, Heidi? Hi. What's up? What up, what up, what up? What's going on, Brittany? Hi, I am throne of you. Oh, I can't decipher that one. Hi, yo from Portugal. What's happening, everybody? So it's Sunday morning. I mean, what a good time. Hello, what's up? Rajudin, I probably can't do that whole name. What's up, Kathy? Hi, the Herbal Mama. What's up, Kat? Hi, KLS, Abby. Thank you. The lighting, I'll give it to the lighting. So yeah, I wanted to shoot a little shit, have a little combo, maybe answer some of your questions. Before I do that, I want to speak to something that I found a little alarming that I've noticed in the world, in the news. And that is the very divisive language that I noticed from leaders. And that's been pretty hard to watch, especially in Canada. I'm not sure if you've noticed it, but the fearless leader of Canada is using very othering language. And it makes me think of a talk that I saw Brene Brown give years ago, probably about 4 years ago, from her book, Braving the Wilderness, where she says that dehumanization always begins by language. It always begins by othering. It always begins by language that says they, those people. And it starts, and you'll notice this all over the world. Not all leaders, but a lot of leaders are using this language. And ultimately, what it does is she speaks to how we have a moral code when someone is biologically like us. Like when someone's like us, when they have similar values, similar thoughts, similar feelings, they're another human. We are biologically punished to harm them. We won't harm them. We have sort of a biological moral code. And what happens is when we start to use language like they, those people, and really he's referring to the people who haven't gotten the thing, is he's starting to other them. And no matter your view on the thing, that language is actually incredibly alarming for the world. That's incredibly alarming for Canada. And also what it's doing is the beginning of moralizing a decision, moralizing it. And I interviewed a professor of public health on that, and he said it's a great failure of public health to moralize any decision. Well, we've been certainly moralizing this. And so what I think is interesting when you consider this language is we start to think about our own language, right? How we use language, how you use language, how leaders use language. And we certainly shouldn't want anyone in leadership who's using that language. I wanted to speak to what Brene says, though. When we hear people referred to as animals or aliens or others, we should immediately wonder, is this an attempt to reduce someone's humanity so we can get away with hurting them or denying them basic human rights? Yes, it is, because we're seeing that happen, right? And so I wanted to speak to that there should be a part of your core that's a little alarmed when you see leaders like that. Also, to be mindful that you might have also been hijacked into the space of righteousness and moralization. The choice I made is morally superior. And that, again, is another structure of language that keeps you here and other people here. So it others. And it doesn't mean that your choice you can't believe is the right choice for you. But I think it's just very fascinating that we're even having to have this conversation. Yeah, it's great that Brittany has gotten it. That's awesome. Because to me, this isn't about the thing. Great that you shared that information. But this is about the way language is used. And that language is correlated to humanization or dehumanization. So we gotta be mindful of that. So let's answer some questions. What are some questions that you have? Come on, you gotta have some questions. 29 years married today, amazing. I see your message as an ICU nurse, beautiful. That's great. Any advice on setting intentions when starting to date someone new? Well, you should always be clear about what you want ahead of time, about what you actually want in the relationship before it all happens. So that when you get to it, you're able to be like, oh, this is what I want. Now, of course, for both of you, you can start to share what your actual intentions are. Like, hey, what are we looking to create from this? And also own what you want to create from that. What do you want to create from that? And I see this other one. I caught some feelings for a casual relationship. What do I do now? Well, shit. Do you share with them? Yeah, because otherwise you're self-abandoning as you're in the casual relationship, Like if you're in the casual relationship and you now have feelings, you're kind of breaking the agreements of the casual relationship. Or you might explore like, can I let go of my feelings and stay in this because I don't want to lose them if I tell them, that I have some feelings. And you might lose them. But isn't that the whole point of developing relationships? Isn't that the whole point of telling the truth, right? Is then he might say, oh, I got feelings for you too. And then you might create an amazing relationship together. Or he'll say, I'm not ready for that, and that's not what I want. And then you'll go, okay, great. Apparently I want feelings and a relationship. This has been challenging. And so, you begin to have that conversation so you can move it forward. I see that question. This is a great question because I've seen this happen a lot. Any thoughts or advice on couples who are divided on the vax? My partner is for it and I'm not, and I worry about my own health via shedding. Well, listen, I don't care about which person is pro or con, but here's what I'll tell you. I have a few people that I know in the world who are in this circumstance where one person wants it and the other person doesn't. Like any intervention, as long as it is not moralized, like as long as neither you nor them correlate your choice to a value system or a moral, then it should just be a choice. Now, granted, we're about to get in the place where some people might have more rights than others based on the choice they're making, which brings up a whole other slew of things. But what I would say is that any decision, just like any political view, right? Political views are often correlated to a value system. And so what it does is it divides people, right? And look what we've been doing for such a long time is this isn't just before the V, this has been going on for a long time with politics, that the left and right are so far apart now and they other each other and they demonize one another. One is like weaponizing wokeness and the other one is really intolerant and racist and not understanding. But the people who are weaponizing wokeness are intolerant as fuck too, right? So there's a great saying that the left and right wing belong to the same bird. And I've really been considering that of like, we have this space of that we're not living in the nuance of life and the nuance of conversation. So when we have, it's all the same thing, right? I love that. And when we have one person who believes in getting it and one person who doesn't, what's happened is as long as those aren't moralized and we can be curious about one another's choice, then we can begin to understand each other's choice. And then we begin to understand each other. What's happened is we have not had this type of behavior demonstrated for us, right? Like, where have you seen this occur? I mean, censorship is certainly not the creation of nuance. Forcing only one narrative is not the creation of conversation and nuance. And so, it's we need it modeled for us. And listen, if I can model it for you, great, right? To have this conversation, to have this dialogue. I have a friend who sent me something recently that was very divisive. And I said, just tell me more about why you sent me that. I'd like to understand your perspective. And, I think we also have to check with the intention of why we share. Is it to create dialogue, or is it to create divisiveness? Is it actually to get someone to think the way you think, which is very different? How do I know if my desire to manifest a previous partner back is healthy when I previously displayed unhealthy, anxious attachment? Well, listen, manifesting a partner back is interesting, right? Because it sort of conveys this idea that it has to be them. Well, if it has to be them, then how are you going to be open to anybody who might not be them? Like, how will you be open to someone else coming along who might have better qualities than them or be a more total package than them? What happens if they haven't done their work? When you think about it, when you look back at the relationship, did you want them the way they were, right? Because if they come back and now you're like, shit, I don't know if I actually want to get back with them. Here's the thing I do think, though, is you need to assess, are you actually getting back together with them from the intention that you can create a beautiful relationship with them? Or are you doing it because you're afraid to move forward, you're afraid to let go, you're afraid to move on with someone else? If you can begin to explore that of like, okay, what about the possibility of anybody being? And if you're really dead set, maybe you made a mistake, maybe you left someone too soon, maybe you recognize their value now that they're gone, you might then reach out to them and say, hey, I've really been thinking about you. I'd love to catch up and just have a conversation with you. And they can actually, really say whether they're open to it or not. They might ask what your intentions are, and you could say, I've really missed you, and I really want to express my desire to enter a relationship with you again. And so you could begin to do that, All right, let's see. Can you discuss how to give space in a healthy way and what boundaries to set? I'm not the one asking for space. I'm the one on the other side. Well, listen, if someone asks for space, we have to give it. I mean, that's the big thing. Here's what I would recommend, is you would say, okay, I'm totally open to giving you space. What do you expect from me in the agreement of space? And what are you going to do with this space? Because I hear this a lot, People are in a long-term relationship and then they're like, I just need some space. Let's take some space and move out. Well, when are we going to come back? Just let me have my space. But that actually is pretty tough, right? Because there still needs to be security for the person. So for you, Julia, you might say to them, what is the timeline? You have to ask, what does space look like for you? What do you need from me while you're in that space? What are our agreements between us with the space? How will you know when you've reached the thing that you say you need space for? Like, what will happen? What will be? How will you know? And how long do you want to take? And you have to agree to come back together to have a conversation within a time. But it has to be based on your terms too, Julia. Like, if you're afraid to lose them and you don't want to give it time, then you're going to begin to abandon yourself. That is, you're going to begin to abandon yourself. So you might actually begin to explore that. Like, if you just get those agreements, and as Robiato, I hope I said that right, my friend, is saying, what are you going to do with that space? Because in that space, you might explore self-abandonment. You might explore, how do you stand more in your power with the agreements of this space? I can think about whenever anyone asks me for space as someone who's more anxiously attached historically, I was like, no. And I didn't often give it to them because I was too afraid of space. Space meant to me that people would leave me, or I wasn't safe, or they'd betray me. And often that remained true because in the agreeing to the space, what often happens is we self-abandon, and it's just more of the not standing up for ourselves. It's more of the doormatting. It's more of the letting the bullshit continue. I'm in pain mostly noticing that if we are not okay, I'm not okay, and I'm afraid to interrupt his space now so I don't push to him. Well, this is about learning how to self-regulate and how to self-soothe. What are you going to do with the space? Go fall in love with yourself. Go do a bunch of stuff for you. Go find new activities, you know? My spouse and I are not the same page about couples therapy. I'm for and she thinks she doesn't need it. Therefore, we do not need it. Only me because I'm the difficult one. What's your advice? Well, Ronan, you might ask, what are you open to? You know, what are you open to? And, you know, I know another couple who go through a lot of challenges, and one partner is certainly the more challenging one, has more communication challenges and things like that. And when that partner approached the other partner about going to therapy together, the one partner said, I don't have anything to change. And I sort of laughed because I'm like, well, that's a pretty great view of oneself so that you don't have to look at where you might need to change. But we're all part of the dance. We're all part of the pattern. We're all part of it. And we need to all look at our parts. I remember Michelle Obama talking about how she was going to bring Barack to she was going to bring him to therapy, and the therapist was going to tell him about all the things that were wrong with him. And when they got to therapy, she said that she realized the therapist was like, what about your side here? And she was like, wait, what? I thought we were bringing him here so he could hear how he's doing everything wrong. And so my heart goes out to you, Ronan, because I know the invitation to therapy is actually an invitation to vulnerability. It's an invitation to meeting on a bridge. But you also, I remember saying to Julie Gottman when we did a book club on 8 Dates, which is a great book, she said, well, sometimes a partner doesn't want to read the book. And I was like, that feels like a red flag. Like someone doesn't want to read the book with them. That's like red flag. And she's like, no, Mark. She was like, no, that's not a red flag. There could be, it's an invitation to curiosity. What is it about therapy that scares you? What is it about this that worries you? What could we do as a couple that would feel good for you? And you could also frame it as, it would be really supportive for me if you could come. I'll go first. And then you could talk about it with the therapist about you not being able to get your partner to go and some strategies for how to invite your partner to therapy with you. Do you have any views on astrology, human design when looking at the synastry? Is that a word? And relationships. When I look at astrology and human design, I think they're fascinating. I think they offer a archetypal process of understanding oneself. Do I think, if someone says, well, you're a Pisces and I'm a this, and those aren't good matches, I don't personally buy into that. If you do, cool. But to me, I'm like, nah, that feels like very assumptive. What I really would invite more is looking at the patterns of how you relate and your family history and things like that. Human design is cool because it gives a structure of who you are and what's important to you, and when you're in a good zone, what it looks like, and when you're not. And so I think they're very useful from a workplace perspective, from a relational perspective, to understand oneself more. With astrology, I'm sure they're useful for understanding oneself, but I wouldn't say that they decide whether there's compatibility. I've never personally followed that. Like Pisces are so psychic. I'm a Scorpio. People are like, you're such a Scorpio. And it's like, except for the bad stuff, which is very Scorpio. I saw another question. How do you heal ourselves? Well, I think all relational healing still requires other. But I think you go within yourself. You dive within yourself and you explore yourself and you learn all about where you come from. I was watching The Matrix 2 last night. And in The Matrix 2, not sure if you guys have seen it, but he says, which choice should I make? And she said, you've already made it. Your job is not to figure out what choice to make. Your job is to figure out why you made the choice. So think about that. We will continuously be